Welcome to channel. Today, we explore story filled with unexpected twists. Please, subscribe and like to stay updated. Let's begin. I am Logan Brooks, the 43-year-old son and fourth child of Philip, a corporate attorney, and Deborah, a nurse. When I stated at the conclusion of my junior year of high school that I did not want to attend college, a little earthquake almost destroyed our family house. My typically gregarious parents were surprised into silence and then went on to make my life miserable. College was required of all Jacob's children, so Mom and Dad went behind my back and applied to 6 prestigious schools and institutions. I got admitted to all of them, increasing the pressure on my whole family to attend, except my paternal grandpa, Martin Baker. I'd been working with Martin throughout my holidays since I was 13. Martin flipped properties long before the word flipped was used. He'd acquire a dilapidated house, generally owned by a long-retired couple, totally refurbish and upgrade it, and then sell it for a large profit. Martin assisted me in purchasing 2 fixer-upper properties during the spring semester of my junior year in high school. I spent the summer scheduling contractors, electricians, plumbers, and painters and ensuring that the work was completed appropriately. I sold the second home 2 days before Labor Day, which marked the unofficial end of summer. While my buddies worked minimum wage jobs all summer, I divided the earnings with Martin and made about $8,000. I flipped 3 properties the next summer. Martin demanded that I get my own money, albeit he agreed to co-sign the notes. At the conclusion of the summer, I handed Martin 25% of my profits. I was left with a wad of cash that might strangle an ordinary 18-year-old. I was an above-average student who liked studying, but I knew college was not for me. I ultimately agreed to a ceasefire with my parents. We decided that I would take a year off after graduating from high school but would need to reapply to universities, and that as a family, we would determine if I would go the following year. While my buddies took part-time summer jobs and prepared for their first year of college, I purchased a used Chevrolet Silverado pickup truck with 123,000 miles, a rudimentary mobile phone, and established Brooks Construction. I phoned every real estate agent who would speak with me and discuss the kind of homes I was interested in acquiring. I agreed to use them as the purchasing agency when I purchased a property they suggested and as the selling agent after the renovations were completed. This is how I met the Carter sisters. Anna and Megan were in their mid-20s and fresh agents who had just begun in real estate after graduating college. They worked at a local franchise of a prominent national business. I was monitoring the remodeling of 2 houses when I received a call. "Hello, Logan. This is Anna Carter. I located a home in Brookfield that seems to match your specifications. Would you like to see it?" she asked. Martin instilled in me the importance of urgency. If an opportunity presented itself, I had to be ready to take advantage of it. I arranged to see Anna in 90 minutes. The home was a basic ranch. I guessed that it was erected 51 years ago. Anna said that it was held by the estate of an elderly couple. They'd lived in the home for over 34 years, and their children resided on the West Coast. They wanted to trash the home and settle the estate as soon as possible. The home was in good structural condition, but it was run down and needed a lot of remodeling. "What do you think they'll take?" I asked Anna. "I think it will go pretty quickly and will come close to the $885,000 asking price," she informed me. I thought she was correct. "I will pay $85,500 cash. I want 5 days to finish the due diligence procedure and will close within 5 days of receiving the inspector's report, providing there are no issues." Anna was ecstatic. We returned to her office, completed and signed the offer, and mailed it to the listing agent. The offer was accepted, and the inspection report revealed no surprises. We concluded the sale 1 week later. "Let's celebrate," Anna urged as we exited the attorney's office after the transaction was finalized. "I share an apartment with my sister. It is less than 2 kilometers distant. Let's go have a drink," I said. I followed Anna inside her well-maintained 3rd-floor apartment on the outskirts of downtown Brookfield. She allowed me to open a bottle of Merlot and pour 2 glasses. We exchanged quiet toasts and took turns sipping. "I hope you don't mind if we celebrate in other ways," Anna told me. Martin had taught me a lot about the real estate market, including the fact that female agents were typically happy to work with contractors who could purchase and sell numerous homes in a year. He often stated, if I were younger and not married to grandma, I'd take full advantage of any bonus they offered. Anna leaned in and kissed me on the lips. When she saw the joy on my face, she leaned back in and pressed her tongue into my mouth. It was a really violent kiss. I grabbed my wine glass in one hand and moved my hand down on his back, patting her little round athletic buttocks before pulling her toward me. We kissed and groped for a few minutes until Anna pulled away. She gave me her glass of wine, and we had wild sex while smiling from ear to ear. After that, I was just 18. Although I had some sex, it was mostly in the backseat with high school dates, which was awkward and ultimately unpleasant. I'd also become friends with benefits with 3 real estate agents, including a 38-year-old married lady who I credit with teaching me the most of my sexual talents. Anna, on the other hand, was great in her own way. Megan's sister, Emily, was also great. The subsequent 5 years whizzed past. When I showed my parents my financial statistics after the first year, they agreed that I was doing really well. They were unhappy that I wasn't going to college, but they saw my enthusiasm for the real estate industry and fully backed me. Starting my second full year in company, I was flipping a dozen to 15 residences every year. I was also aggressively seeking apartment structures with 6 to 12 units. I'd repair each apartment when the occupants moved out and keep the property for rental revenue. I rapidly realized that maintaining rental property was a royal pain in the neck, since I didn't want to be answering calls at 3 a.m. because of a broken toilet. I hired a real estate management firm to handle my rental properties and all of the hassles that come with them. Anna and Megan married within 2 months of each other, and I was invited to both ceremonies. I believed our playdates, which included multiple threesomes with the sisters, were ended. I was 25 years old when Anna and Megan asked me out to supper with their spouses. Emily, their younger sister, had just graduated from college and spent the previous year teaching at an elementary school in the Providence region. Emily had attended school on a swimming scholarship, and she was gorgeous. Despite the fact that we were with her sisters and their husbands, I had a great time getting to know her over drinks and dinner. She was taller than her sisters, standing 59 and weighing 135 pounds, with red hair, hazel eyes, and an athletic build highlighted by long, trim legs and the most gorgeous hips ever. Her personality was even better than her physical appearance, as she was smart, genuine, and had an easy laugh. I was thrilled when Emily agreed to let me drive her home to her parents' house at the end of the evening. We were approaching a Dunkin' Donuts shop when Emily suggested we stop and talk because it was the first time we were alone. After getting our drinks, we found a table that provided us with some privacy. "Listen, Logan," Emily said. "You seem like a nice guy, and under different circumstances, I think I'd like to get to know you." "I'd like to get to know you too," I said. "What are your concerns? I know you've been friends with my sisters for a few years, and I know they're, well, pretty wild. I'm pretty sure they cheat on their husbands. How does that affect you and me?" "I'm not going to ask whether you've ever slept with any of them," Emily added. "But if we dated, even if we went exclusive, you can't date my sisters." "Okay, I agree," I said, "but you also need to know that I'm not a saint. I'm far from being a virgin, but I've only been with guys I'm exclusive with. It's not that many men." Emily and I began dating when I asked her out for the 4th time. I invited her to my home for a private dinner, and I was thrilled when she agreed. I picked her up at her parents' house, and I think she was surprised when I pulled into the parking area behind my home. I no longer lived in a condominium. Martin and Grandma Baker had died within 3 weeks of each other, for years earlier. They had been extremely generous to their children and grandchildren. Though it took me nearly a year to decide to renovate the 27-year-old farmhouse and barn, and another 2 years to finish the project. When it was finished, I owned a beautiful home. The outside was neat as a pin and kept the distinct look of an old traditional farmhouse. The inside had been gutted, and several walls were eliminated, so the house had a modern, open look. I also renovated the barn, which I poured a concrete floor and turned into a giant garage and storage area. Emily was pleased when I gave her the grand tour, and I believe she was equally impressed with the lasagna, asparagus, and salad I prepared for supper. We ate on my rear patio, drank wine, and chatted until the candles went out. Emily said, "Can I ask you something?" "Sure," I said. "I'm enjoying getting to know you, and I want to spend more time with you." Emily responded with a grin. "I don't have any interest in dating anyone but you. Would you consider being exclusive?" The grin faded from my face, but it immediately returned as she laughed and added, "I've thought about it long enough. It's about damn time you asked." She rushed into my lap and kissed me. After a night of sex and making love, I knew I'd found the right sister. We took nearly 45 minutes to get to my king-sized bed on the 2nd floor of the house, kissing, touching, and undressing each other the entire time. When we fell onto the mattress wrapped in a hug, I was the happiest man alive. I'll admit that my only concern was that I might compare Emily to her sisters and be disappointed in the quality of sex. After Emily and I were engaged, her father phoned and asked if we could meet for a drink. Her parents and I were nice, but we didn't really connect, which I knew was due to my lack of a college degree. Raymond and I met the following day, and as usual, he went straight to the point. Logan, I like you. I like you a lot, but I think it's important that you and Emily sign a prenuptial agreement. Have you talked to Emily about it? Not yet, but I will, I said. He pushed a manila folder across the table and continued. I had my lawyer put this together. The prenup was only 2 pages and basically stated that in the event of a divorce for any reason, Emily and I would keep all the assets we brought into the marriage. Emily would keep all the acquired assets from her current job and any future jobs, and I would keep all the assets from my business. If we had children, the court would set all child support payments, and I told Raymond, I don't see any problems, but let me have my attorney look into it. He'll get back to you within a week. Emily and I were married at the end of her second school year, and we took a 2-week honeymoon vacation to several Caribbean islands. While on vacation, we made a honeymoon baby, and Lila was born 9 months after our wedding. Our second daughter, Jenna, arrived 17 months later, followed by our third daughter, Nora, 2.5 years later. Life was mostly good. In addition to her teaching responsibilities, Emily returned to school for her master's degree in education. After a difficult 3-year period in which Emily and I seemed to be going in opposite directions, I was able to change the course of my company and move away from the renovation side of the real estate business. I used the internet to search for distressed vacation properties along the Northeast coast, in ski country in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and upstate Massachusetts. I continued to invest in residential apartments, and I currently own 18 buildings with a total of 124 units. I obviously wouldn't make as much money on each flip, but instead of 12 to 15 regular flips a year, I was completing 75 to 100 wholesale flips. Because I had an above-average reputation in a slimy industry, I also became a partner in an investment group that loaned money to flippers, which was one of the top companies of its kind in the Northeast. The most interesting aspect of the change in direction for me and my companies was that the amount of time I worked on a daily basis dropped. Instead of 60-hour work weeks, which included traveling from renovation project to renovation project and locating new projects, my new responsibilities required between 20 and 30 hours per work week, allowing me to devote more of my precious time to my family. An average workday consisted of getting up at 4:30 a.m. and exercising for an hour. From 7:30 a.m. to 1 p.m., I went to work. I checked in with all of my real estate contacts looking for new wholesale flips, read the reports on our loan company, and completed 1,000 small details that were required in my line of work. Most days, I was able to leave work in the early afternoon and get ready for the kids' after-school activities. I coached the mom. During the same time frame, Emily changed careers. She started as a middle school vice principal, moved to an elementary school as principal, then a high school vice principal, and finally, in 6 short years, became our school systems assistant superintendent. The biggest downside was that while my work hours decreased, Emily's increased. She was required to attend many evening sporting events and other school activities. Emily and I were having sex 3 or 4 times a week as we approached our 12th wedding anniversary. Despite our hectic lifestyle, Emily and I made time for each other, both in and out of the bedroom. The only real challenge to our relationship began in our 3rd year of marriage. Emily and I were sitting together enjoying Valentine's Day at our favorite neighborhood restaurant when she remarked, "I'd like to ask something, and I'd like you to keep an open mind." I'll confess that I was angered by her remarks and tone, so I said, "When have I ever been closed-minded with you?" Emily rolled her eyes and said, "I just think there's a small chance, that you'll get upset." So, after making reservations at our favorite restaurant and buying you a diamond pendant for Valentine's Day, you believe it's a good time to discuss something that could bother me? Great. Go ahead, I responded, rolling my eyes. "Oh, for Christ's sake, Logan," Emily said. I said there was a small chance you'd get upset. I waved my hand before Emily could continue her diatribe. "Just tell me what you want to talk about," I informed you. Emily looked at me for almost a minute before saying, "Mickey and Megan have been going on a 5-day cruise every spring. We pick a cruise during my school's spring break, and I'd like to go this year." I chuckled and responded, "Why in the world would that upset me? It sounds like a great idea. Where are we going? Emily's grin faded into anxiety. No, you don't understand. We're planning a girls' week away. My gaze never left Emily's as I went for my wine glass and gently took 2 short swallows. After returning the glass to the table, I questioned, "What exactly are you asking me?" Emily was perplexed. "I don't understand your question. You started this conversation by asking me if you could ask me a question. What's your question, Emily?" She took a minute to gather herself. "Well, I guess I'm asking you if you're okay with me going?" My grin widened, and I said, "That's simple. No, I'm not okay with you leaving, and I'm surprised you had to ask. What's the matter with me going away with my sisters?" Emily was plainly irritated, and I was taken aback. I thought for a moment and replied, "As you well know, Mickey and Megan are wild. They were wild 5 years ago when we started dating, and, as you pointed out, they're still wild today after each was divorced for cheating. Your sisters are heat-seeking missiles for men, and you know it. That's what the matter is with you going without me." "So you don't trust me?" Emily inquired. "No, that's not the question we're discussing, I told you. We are discussing my feelings about you leaving your family to go on a vacation with your 2 wild sisters." "I wish you would stop calling them that," Emily said. I shrugged and said, "I wish they weren't." Before we could continue our talk, the server approached the table and asked whether we were enjoying our dessert. When we agreed that it was great, she remarked, "Our last course is a glass of our award-winning plum wine. May I bring it to you?" Before Emily could respond, I answered, "No thanks," and pulled my credit card from my wallet. "Please run the card at 20% for the tip and bring me the receipt to sign." Emily was enraged, raising her voice and saying, "We will be staying for the wine." She told the waiter, "And well, take it now." "Thank you." I suppose the waiter realized that, despite giving my wife a lovely necklace, I wasn't going to get laid at the conclusion of our day. I smiled at the waiter and said, "Bring my wife's wine and my glass. When you've run my card, return it to my wife and call her a cab." The waiter's eyes almost popped out of her head as I tossed my napkin on the table, stood, and headed to the coat room for my jacket. After starting the car, I looked at the clock and gave Emily exactly 3 minutes to pay the tab and make her way to the parking lot, which she did with 7 seconds to spare. She was fuming as she climbed into the vehicle. "Don't you ever embarrass me like that again. Do you understand me?" I drove about half a mile prior to calmly responding, "We just finished a discussion where I was informed that I can't tell you not to go away for a week with your wild sisters. If that's the case, you can't tell me not to embarrass you in public, and I'll do it any time I want." Emily was taken aback. I'd never spoken to her like that before, and she sensibly chose to keep silent for the rest of our journey. I parked our vehicle in the barn, and Emily went to the door that led outside into the house, while I ascended the stairs to my office. "Where are you going?" she said. "We're not finished talking. Come to the house now." I was halfway up the stairs when I turned and exclaimed, "Who the hell do you think you're talking to? Don't ever again tell me what to do." Emily was standing there, her mouth hanging wide, as I slammed my office door behind me. Emily confronted me in my office 4 days before she was supposed to depart. Over the following 2 weeks, the temperature in our house fluctuated between frosty and Arctic cold, depending on the day. I slept in my office many nights. "Can we talk?" she inquired. "Sure," I said, pointing to a chair. "Please take a seat." Emily gazed at me for a long time before speaking. "I don't want to leave with you mad at me." I shrugged and remarked, "There's an easy way to change my mood." Emily frowned. "I'm going on the cruise." "That's final." We sat silently for a few seconds until I said, "Can I say a few things?" Emily agreed with me, so I continued. "This is the first time in our entire life together that I've been concerned about the health of our marriage. It's the first time I've been concerned that your actions could lead to our family splitting up." "That's not fair, Logan," she responded. "Do you really think I'm going to screw some guy on the cruise? I know you're not thinking about cheating on me right now, but in a few days, you'll be drinking and partying with your sisters, and 3 gorgeous women in that kind of environment will attract men, which could easily lead to unintended consequences, especially if 2 of the women are wild." And Emily, you know I'm right. Emily was preparing a retort, but she was taken off guard when I emphasized that she knew I was accurate. She even blushed. "I need to understand that I am concerned about a lot of things, and not just sex. Are you going to kiss any men? Are you going to hold hands? How about slow dancing with his hands on your hips, or allowing a man to spread sunscreen over your body while you lay by the pool?" Emily giggled uncomfortably. "Logan, you're being ridiculous. I'm not planning on doing any of those things." But even if they do happen, those things aren't that bad, she went on. I grinned and said, why aren't you planning on doing any of those things? Emily was perplexed. Because a married woman shouldn't be involved with a man in that way. But if a drunken mistake happens, it doesn't necessarily mean it should lead to a divorce. I excused myself. We keep going round in the same stupid circle. You have not considered my very strong feelings and concerns about this trip. If I find out that you have acted in an inappropriate manner, I will not consider your feelings. They'll do what's best for me and my daughters, up to and including divorce. Emily was stunned. I can't believe you're talking about divorce. I can't believe that your decision to go on this vacation has led to us talking about divorce, I told you. Listen, I've accepted that you'll be taking this trip. I obviously don't like it, but I accept it. I hope you and your sisters have an enjoyable time, but I want you to understand my concerns. And no, without fail, if you cross the line and do something inappropriate and I find out, they'll throw you to the curb in a second. Emily leaped from her seat, went to my office door, and cried over her shoulder, I'm not planning on doing anything wrong. I was astonished when tears flowed down Emily's cheeks. Emily was questioning the girls about their plans for the week when the kitchen clock struck 8 a.m. We need to get going, she replied. I told Anna that we'd pick her up at 8:30 and Megan at 9. Of course, you're driving us to the airport? Emily inquired. I've got conference calls scheduled for 8:30, 9, and 9:45, I told them. I'm going to my office. What the hell's the matter with you? She said. What kind of husband doesn't drive his wife to the airport? I was halfway to the kitchen door when I replied, the kind of husband who will not support this vacation in any way. I then turned to the daughters and said, please clean the table and counters before you turn on the TV. The following 9 years passed by. Lila was 13, Jenna was 11, and Nora was 8. I continued to enjoy the responsibilities of being Mr. Emily appreciated my efforts, which allowed her to continue as a top administrator in our town's school system and serve on several state and national education boards. I was incredibly proud of my wife while also enjoying the close bond one had formed with my 3 daughters. My phone was muted, and I was standing by the open office window, enjoying the warm spring breeze, when Emily's car sped into the driveway, followed by Megan's car. Emily jumped out of her car, while Megan and Anna climbed. What's so important? Megan inquired. Emily shushed her sister and whispered, let us talk in the kitchen. I don't want Logan to overhear us. As Anna and Megan took their seats at our table, Emily poured 2 glasses of wine for her sisters. I quickly disconnected my phone and opened the home security app on my cell phone, navigating to the camera in our kitchen. Aren't you having any? Anna inquired after a pause. Emily said, I can't. I'm on antibiotics. What's wrong with you? Megan inquired. Emily groaned and said, I can't believe it, but one of the guys I slept with gave me gonorrhea. Oh, Megan remarked, you've given it to Logan? Emily shouted, he's always pissed when I get back from the cruise. We'll get back into sex after a couple of weeks. When will your doctor notify Logan? Anna said. Emily responded, I don't think they will. I went to a walk-in clinic in Rochester, Massachusetts, and paid cash. I told them that I was single and that the only sex ID had in the last 6 months was on the cruise with strangers. I had to give the clinic our cruise line information and the first name of the guys I slept with. The medical authorities will try to track down the guy who passed this to me. I shut off the app, went to the bookshelf, opened a bottle of Knob Creek, and poured myself a drink. Sitting behind my desk and taking a healthy sip, I realized that I had been preparing for this moment for a decade and had already thought through the tasks necessary to end my marriage to Emily. I was sad, almost dead inside, but I was determined to look after myself and my children. I called my personal attorney and told him to start a divorce petition. I wanted the prenuptial agreement enforced, the house ID inherited from my grandfather, and, most importantly, full custody of my daughters. My attorney agreed that the custody issue shouldn't be a problem. I instructed my attorney to file the divorce papers using irreconcilable differences, but to have a second divorce petition prepared that listed my attorney had advised Emily and me to keep separate accounts in case my business failed. So I wasn't concerned about splitting our banking accounts. We each contributed equally to the household budget on a quarterly basis, but the rest of our finances were under our own names. I did cancel 2 joint credit cards and pay off the balances with our household budget account. 30 minutes after hearing the fateful talk, I took the remainder of my drink and proceeded to the kitchen. As I came through the door, the girls' chatter dropped down. Emily glanced at me and inquired, bad day, honey? I sat at the far end of the kitchen table, nodded, and said, "Yeah, real bad." The group watched with curiosity as Emily inquired, "Do you want to tell us about it?" I was thinking about my response when we heard Lila come through the front door. Her best friend's mom had given her a ride home from middle school. Lila skipped into the kitchen, hugged her mom and aunts, before circling the table and wrapping her arms around my neck. Lila hadn't seen her aunts since they had left on their most recent cruise. She told them about her school and sports activities, and they teased her about a boy who had a crush on her. After another round of hugs, Anna and Megan began questioning their three nieces about their recent lives. Emily, on the other hand, looked at me with concern. A few minutes later, we heard the school bus stop in front of the house, and the front door crashed open. Jenna and Nora dashed into the kitchen. As a group, we laughed and talked for well over an hour. When things started to quiet down and I suspected Anna and Megan would make an excuse to leave, I said, "I'm calling a family meeting." And then, looking at my sisters-in-law, I added, "You'll each be impacted by our discussion. You're welcome to stay." When they agreed, I got up, refilled their wine glasses, and poured another inch of bourbon for myself. After returning the glasses to the table, I asked Emily, "Would you like some wine?" Emily smiled, shook her head, and said, "No thank you." Jenna chuckled and remarked, "Wow, Mom doesn't want a glass of wine on a Monday afternoon. What's the occasion?" We all chuckled, and Emily said, "I drank a little too much on the cruise. I'm trying to lose a few pounds." "That's a relief," I remarked. "What a relief?" Emily inquired. Emily's face grew white as I said, "I thought you weren't drinking because you'd been prescribed antibiotics." The girls looked to Emily, and Nora said, "Are you sick, Mom?" Emily swiftly said, "No, of course not." Everyone looked to me, and I took 2 strong breaths to calm myself before turning to my children. "Your mom just lied to you, I told you. Emily is taking antibiotics for a disease called gonorrhea. It's a sexually transmitted disease, an STD. Your mom got gonorrhea when she cheated on me while on her cruise with her sisters." Emily cried, "No, your father is lying. Go to your room, immediately," while the girls gazed at me in disbelief. I took my time and gently informed my children, "I have every confidence that you know, deep in your hearts, that I would never lie to you about something this important. Go to your rooms now." The 3 girls' heads rotated away from Emily and back at me, like if they were playing tennis. "Girls, you need to know that I've been in contact with Mr. Jensen. You know he's my lawyer. He's writing up the divorce papers over the weekend. I'll make sure that Mom gets a copy next week." Emily's eyes blazed with wrath as she said, "How dare you involve our children in this private matter?" Looking at Emily with scorn, I said, "On Monday, Alan will file the divorce petition. Our private matter will become public in just a few days." I turned to my daughters and explained, "The next year will be very difficult for our family. I want to treat you with respect and tell you the truth from the start. I want you to know that I am not at fault. Your mother has caused this mess. She cheated on us, she's thrown our marriage away, and she's split up our family." As I saw my daughters' reactions, I wasn't startled by Jenna and Nora's tears and sorrow, but I was astonished by my eldest daughter's lack of emotion. She appeared resolute as she said, "Dad, I want to tell you something important, but I'm afraid you'll hate me." "Hating you isn't a possibility," I murmured, reaching around my sister-in-law Megan and taking Lila's hand. I was perplexed when Lila burst into tears. She turned to gaze at Nora, who nodded silently in agreement. The 2 girls clasped and sobbed together. "Look at the mess you made. How dare you upset our family like this?" Emily's voice was angry, but I concentrated on Lila and Nora as they calmed down. Emily's words didn't seem to affect Lila and Jenna. Instead, Lila calmed herself and said, 2 years ago, after Mom came home from her cruise, she was sitting right here with Aunt Megan and Aunt Anna. We were upstairs in Nora's bedroom." Lila pointed above her head, indicating Nora's room, and I heard Mom, Aunt Megan, and Aunt Anna talking through the vents. They laughed and bragged about who had the most sex on the cruise. "I remember everything too," Jenna said. "Dad," Lila said, "I'm sorry I didn't tell you." "I'm sorry too, Dad," Jenna said. Lila returned to me and said, "We knew what Mom did was wrong, but we were afraid to tell you." I continued to hold Lila's hand and reached for Nora's little hand. Nora didn't comprehend what was going on, but she didn't want to miss out, so she walked close to Jenna and participated in the hand-holding. I examined them all one more time. "You don't need to be sorry. Your mother and Aunt Anna and Aunt Megan should have never put you in the position to hear about their disgusting behavior. It's their fault, not yours. Nora piped up, her voice shaking. I don't want to live with Mom after the divorce. I want to live with you. I was astonished Lila had planned so far ahead, and I was pleased and delighted when Nora and Jenna nodded in accord. Emily, evidently not ready to let go, chose to continue her folly. She remarked, the mother always gets custody in a divorce. If your dad doesn't stop this nonsense immediately, you'll be living with me. I guarantee it. I smiled and gently stated, in most cases, the mother gets primary custody. Emily grumbled, but I raised my hand to hush her. But they are given custody because, in most cases, the mom is the primary caregiver. I paused for a moment before I asked, let me ask you a few questions. You don't have to answer them out loud, but just think about them. Who makes you breakfast every day? Who packs your lunch for school and cooks dinner? Who does the grocery shopping each week? Who is home with you every evening while your mother is at her meetings? Who takes you to the doctor for your annual physical or when you're sick? Who coaches your sports teams and volunteers to chaperone school field trips? I waited for a bit and then added, can you think of a single thing your mother does on a regular basis that contributes to our family? Jenna leaped out of her seat, around the table, and sprang into my arms. It's you, Dad. You're our caregiver and the best dad ever. As Lila finished, her two sisters joined us in a huge group embrace, and I waited a minute for us to cool down before saying, go to your rooms, girls. Your mother and I need to talk. As the girls were leaving the kitchen, I told them, girls, I don't want you eavesdropping. Please go to Nora's room. They disregarded Emily and kissed my cheek 3 times. Given the intensity of the situation, I was relieved to hear 3 chuckles and a chorus of okay, Dad. It seemed that I wanted Megan and Anna to respond. I could tell they didn't want to, but I had pushed their hand. What do you mean? Anna inquired. I wanted a faithful and loving wife, and you wanted Emily to be wild. You've won, I remarked to you. Anna grumbled. I'm not wild, Logan, she said. I smiled and said, your gonorrhea-infested hole is proof that you are. Stop pretending to act like an adult. Megan stepped in, attempting to mediate. It was only 1 week a year, Logan. Emily has a stressful job, and she lets loose while we're away. It isn't a big deal. I couldn't stop myself. If I wanted a wild woman for a wife, I would have married you or Anna. Screw you, Logan, Anna spat out. You never complained when you were screwing us. Megan raised her eyebrows. That was years ago, I said. I was 19, horny, and single. But after you introduced me to Emily, did I ever accept any of your many invitations to continue screwing you? Everyone at the table knew the solution, but no one said anything. I don't want a divorce, Emily eventually said, her voice shaking. I'm going to fight to keep our family together. Luckily for you, Emily, I don't need your permission to divorce you. I told you. I've instructed that the divorce proceed under the terms of irreconcilable differences. If you fight me, I'll have the court issue an order for you to be tested for STDs. I think the gonorrhea that's infesting the cesspool between your legs will prove you're a cheater. Then I'll change the terms to infidelity, and the world will know that you are a lying, cheating person. Megan intervened. We're going to get out of here and give you two some privacy. Both sisters began to rise, but were stopped when I said, while you're leaving, I want you to take out the trash. They stared at me perplexed until I pointed to Emily and said, bring your sister to her room and have her pack enough for a few weeks, then get the hell out of my house. The prenuptial agreement was accepted by the court, and Emily kept all assets associated with her job, while I kept my businesses. Emily tried to use family and friends to stall the divorce, but she didn't use official channels because she didn't want the world to know she was wild. The mandatory court-ordered counseling lasted only 1 session, and it was clear to the counselor that I didn't want to continue my marriage to Emily. My 2 oldest daughters remained hostile to their mother and aunts, but remained close to their maternal grandparents. My baby, Nora, remained close to her mother and saw her on a regular basis. Emily did not have a great life after the divorce. The news of her divorce spread, and to make matters worse, her gonorrhea spread, forcing her to stay indoors for an extended period of time. It turns out that all 3 sisters were infected. Well, karma operates in funny ways. Emily's life became increasingly difficult in the months that followed. The public nature of our divorce was one thing, but the revelation of her infidelity hit her hard. Her career was put in jeopardy. She lost respect from many of her colleagues in the educational community, and soon, whispers about her actions spread further than she ever imagined. Emily tried to save her reputation, but it seemed like everything she touched turned to dust. The shame of her actions became too much to bear. After years of hiding behind a perfect image of being a dedicated school administrator and a loving mother, her facade crumbled in the public eye. Her attempts to explain the situation only alienated her from her friends, and her phone calls to her sisters became more frequent. In the meantime, I focused on building my life. The divorce gave me a fresh start, and with it, I discovered new opportunities that didn't just revolve around my work. I spent more time with the girls, seeing them grow into incredible young women, and their trust in me never wavered. I had spent years proving that I was the one they could rely on, and now, even more, they knew I would always be there for them. My oldest, Lila, began to demonstrate a strong sense of leadership at the age of 16. She excelled in school, and when I took her to visit colleges in Massachusetts, I could see the same spark in her eyes that I had when I started my business. She wanted to follow in my footsteps, but she was determined to carve out her own path, which made me proud. Jenna, now 14, was becoming more independent every day, and she had developed a passion for PH. Thank you for watching. Do you believe the main character made the correct choices? Please share your ideas in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.